All right, so let's take a look at some of the new build options that we have here. If you go into our first build, this is my defensive build, obviously PMD, typical 6'4", 160 that I've been running for many years now. I don't think that that will change. The difference is obviously what you see in the traits and what you can work with the attributes. So if we look at the traits and go through each one and kind of detail how comp it may be, what kind of combinations you can kind of go with, tailor towards each position. So if you look at the first one, the first two actually, these are the two ones that you have to really look at in terms of how much speed you're going to see in the game. It almost feels like right now, as it stands, I know we don't have this fully unlocked yet, as far as the max level traits, the elite level traits. It almost seems like you have to run at least one of these or both. We'll have to see again once I start playing a bit more competitively against competitive league players, things like that, whatever high level players. We'll see the combinations that they use, but I honestly think that you might have to use at least one, if not both of these on your build. So this is the build that I started out with, which was elite edges, wheels, and then stick them up, right, for defense. I think that's a pretty decent combo. You can hit all blue level traits. The thing is, once you unlock these, right, there are different point values. These ones cost the most, obviously, compared to these are the ones that only cost 40, right? So there's obviously a big jump here. These are the ones that EA determines are going to be used a lot and should cost the most, which does make sense to some degree. Same when you go into some of these other ones, but we'll touch base on that. But just to start out, I do believe that these traits are going to be used a lot. And the problem is you may even see these become elite level traits, and then players start to branch off and use, you know, a tier 1 specialist trait, whatever it is. But I think for defense, from what I've seen, I do believe you will have to have wheels, because wheels activates now not only when you have the puck, but without the puck, and it's just your straight line speed. You need that if you're going to try to back check in this game. Back checking is difficult because you're not able to kind of glitch your way back. You know how before we used to shove our arms out in front on the back check to try to gain that extra bit of speed? You can't do that. So you need wheels on to sort of get you that speed back. The question is whether you need the lead edges on offense, right? As a defenseman, when you're controlling the puck in the offensive zone on the breakout, whatever, do you need this as a defenseman? I don't know, but these are kind of what you're looking at here. Second wind, I haven't had too much of an issue with endurance. If they ever do nerf the endurance to a point where you kind of need second wind, this is when you're recovering, when you lose all your stamina, and it recovers automatically back. This actually will come in handy. This does seem like it will come in handy if like full pressure happens, or you're on the PK and sixes and you lose your stamina and you can't really gain it back. That's kind of what I envision. I don't necessarily think it's going to be as comp as like some of these other traits that we'll see, but we go to no contest. This is kind of the same thing. No contest, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one, but it's basically how no contest has been. I think it's your ability to get the puck, to try to get it, like to win puck battles, but then it also provides not only a strength boost, but a speed and acceleration boost out of it. So for example, like if you're getting the puck, you could literally sprint out, like you could get it and be in full stride from like a standstill almost. Like you come out of that animation with the puck with a lot of speed. I could see some scenarios where it would be good. I'm wondering if this is going to be banned in leagues. That would be a question mark, because this was banned at the esports level in previous years. We'll see if it remains the same when we get to it. Warrior, kind of an interesting one. I think this one will combat truculence to some degree. Spark plug, all that kind of stuff, where it provides you know, power on the hit. This one will shield you from that. So you can get up faster, you're more resistant to hits, and it doesn't drain your stamina as much. So this one, probably a direct combat trait to truculence. So if you ever are facing a team that's full of truculence players, you'll probably use those. But you're probably not going to see it in sixes so much. You'll probably see it more in threes when guys are just all running truculence. Again, I do think truculence will get banned in sixes leagues. Rocket, I don't see this. This is like thunderclap. I don't see it. I just don't. I mean, you might see people. I don't really know if people are going to be rocking it too much. It doesn't cost as much as like 1T or quick release. The next two traits that I think are going to be very OP. We'll have to kind of gauge that. But I don't think Rocket's going to be that great. You might see it. I just don't see. I don't think it activates on one-timers, does it? Did Thunderclap activate on a one-timer? Because it is technically a slap shot animation, right? It's just not one-timer. I don't know. Quick release, though, this one is going to be used on almost every single forward. So this costs the same, right? Max level costs the same as wheels and elite edges. So obviously EA knows, hey, this one's going to be used a lot. This is like close quarters, heat seeker, make it snappy, all in one. I don't understand why they're doing that, but they chose to do it. So you're going to see this on every single forward build. You might even see it on some defensemen. Just the ability to quickly shoot the puck on, and it's very good. It's got its own unique animation as well with some of the quick snapshot animations that you see. It's done flashy. It's nice, but it's almost a guaranteed goal if you're in the right spot, it seems like, especially against AI. One-timer again as well. I think this one will remain the same as powerful as it was last year. I don't really know yet. I've kind of seen only the all-star ability. It doesn't seem as powerful, but again, like elite level, once you unlock that, which again, the ones that are locked, you unlock through the battle pass. So you have to grind through the tiers, or you could purchase the tiers as well, which I don't understand why they chose to do that, because you can literally spend NHL points to get all the traits when you first start before you even play your first game, or you can grind it the long way and try to get there. I just don't understand that. It's got that pay to win mentality. I don't think it's that much of a big deal. It's no different than when we grinded to level 50 in the past to have to unlock elite edges or something gold, right? So whatever, it's something to grind for. But once you unlock this stuff, then we'll have to revisit this and see what is OP and what is not at the max level. Pressure is an interesting one. I've used it. I don't see this being a comp thing, but you might see people use it just because they want to get the full pressure on you constantly. If you're a team that throws the puck on a lot, I mean, I personally despise having this trait in the game just because of how ridiculous the full pressure system is. I just hate that mechanic altogether. So having a trait that benefits that as well, I just don't like it at all. Backhand beauty, same thing as in previous years. I think it's going to be very good with the backhand shots. You know, we've kind of already seen that before. This one isn't as, you know, it unlocks 40 points for the elite. It's different than, you know, it doesn't cost as much as the 1T or the quick release, right? So you might see people run this maybe in 3s, 6s, I don't know, but it doesn't cost as much as these other traits. But you could see the backhand shot power and accuracy plus 100% at the max level. Send it. This is the one. This is the question mark here. When it comes to playing 6's defense, there's a little bit of a quarterback control element with controlled breakouts, right? Where you give a call out, you fling a pass to somebody, even just like a quick pass up on a quick transition. I do believe Send It could be a pretty comp ability for all defensemen, because what it does is not only does it give you an auto sauce animation at times, you could also icon with it as well. It's no different. You don't need this 2 icon pads. You can just do it, right? But it provides an acceleration boost to the player receiving that pass. So you lead somebody on a quick cut through the middle to the outside, you send that pass to them, they're going to get a plus 30% acceleration boost for 3 seconds. I think that's huge. We'll have to see how that transpires in competitive play. But I do think this is something I'm going to be kind of mixing with, whether I go with Send It or Elite Edges. Those are the two traits in question for me. I do think Wheels is I am going to have to use that as a defenseman, but I do believe Send It could be useful as well. Tape to tape, no different than tape to tape in the past. I think it's pretty much the exact same. Again, I personally think that Send It actually overshadows tape to tape, in my opinion. If you're a defenseman that rock tape to tape, I would switch to Send It. If you're a guy that needs to have a passing trait on or wants to have one on, I think Send It would be your better bet as a defenseman. As a forward, you might want to have tape to tape. I'm not sure. It's just up to you. And now we got ankle breaker. So this one, it doesn't tell me. Let's see. Toe drag speed. And I think it gives you a speed boost coming out of the deke as well. So I don't know if it's also like puck on a string is combined with it. Like your ability to kind of move side to side and then shoot the puck away, like how puck on a string was, where it's just your typical backhand, forehand dangles. This one, it's like you actually have to do a toe drag animation for the unique animation to get pulled off. I did have this trait a few times. Or I think one time when I was in a grudge match, and it is kind of nice, but again, I don't see it being like a comp ability. It's going to be something that will give you a pretty good, like some pretty good clips if you can pull it off. which you might even see like a toe drag release animation or like a toe drag to a backhand with. So you might see like an ankle breaker combined with backhand beauty, a little toe drag to the backhand roof at top shelf. I could see that happening. It costs 45 here. You could combine backhand beauty with ankle breaker max. They both at max, which is kind of insane. So you might see some guys prefer that. I saw a couple guys trying it out before, trying to get the animation or to try to get the move to go off, and it did work at times. Big rig. This was a bit different. You could protect the puck drive to the net, kind of like how it was before, with increased strength, agility, and balance. Surprise goalies with enhanced accuracy and power with one-handed shots. So I haven't seen the one-handed shots yet. Haven't seen anybody really drive to the net as intended, where you're kind of pulling it to one side. But it does give you unique animations. So I don't think you would rock this over Elite Edges, LTing to the outside. They did say they nerfed the LT pivot, but you got to understand that when you throw Elite Edges back into the game, it kind of negates the changes that they made, because I think they implied those changes to when you didn't have Elite Edges, which we didn't have last year. Now you throw Elite Edges into the mix while trying to nerf the speed that you get with the LT pivot. I think that counteracts those changes. So big rig over Elite Edges, no, you're not going to see that. Sorry, you're just simply not. Even if you're a big guy, you're just not. You're just simply not going to have it. You know, guys are going to be able to stay in front of you, especially if they have wheels on as well, and guys angle themselves properly. You could beat big rig, so it's not going to be a comp ability over Elite Edges. It just simply isn't. Unstoppable combines unstoppable force and back at you. So I haven't seen anybody use it. We'll have to kind of gauge that when we do, but I still don't see it, right? Reverse hits, I think are nerfed to where you're not able to get it every time without it. You might need to have unstoppable to get those types of reverse hit animations, so you might see it. I don't think it's gonna be used at the sixes, because it kind of had its own unique timing, right, in the past. So I don't think you're gonna chew up a trait just for unstoppable. But you'll have to see, because again, it's all about speed at the end of the day. I feel like speed, quickness, how to burn guys the easiest, how to burn guys the quickest. Unstoppable, yeah, more of a threes trade in my opinion. Big rig, same deal. I just don't see these trades being as comp. Big tipper, it's going to be banned, probably the exact same that it has been in previous years. We already know kind of how this works. Born leader, same deal. If they do tweak the endurance, nerf it again to the point where you need second wind, where you need born leader, these two traits will come in handy. It goes for everything: block shots, body checking, and shooting. So it'd be good to kind of have maybe one guy rock it, maybe a center. I'm not sure, depending on what you need as a center. Truculence is back. Back in such a sense where it is very OP. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's 55 points for the max level, so obviously they know that there's going to be guys using it. Sixes, I would assume they'd ban it in league, so you're not going to see much there. But threes, oh yeah, baby, you're going to see this a lot. And it's, again, you still have to line up the hit. It's not like it's a guaranteed hit, but you do a lot of damage when you do hit guys. And it's not even just the full charge hit. You could just shove somebody down very easily with truculence. So it does a lot of damage. And hitting, I would say in general, has been buffed even without any type of hitting trait. So it isn't just truculence that's going to provide you this. I mean, this will just provide that much more to it. So if they ever do nerf hitting again, or they try to bring it back, because I don't understand why it's so buffed right now, you might see guys then put on truculence and do the exact same type of damage that they've been doing already. So spark plug next. This one provides a boost to your team and the pressure after delivering a hit. So everybody, it's like it's your spark plug. You know what I mean? Once you hit somebody, everybody gets a speed boost for 4 seconds. At the highest level, you get it for 5 seconds. Plus 5 acceleration, agility, plus 15% speed, and a plus 25% increase to the pressure. This one, you might even see people run this over truculence. It depends on how OP the body checking is, right? In terms of if you do not need truculence, you may not need it. I mean, yeah, it does a lot to the player if you run truck, but this does a lot for your team if you run spark plug. And you might even see guys combine this shit, right? Like you might see in threes one guy just rock truculence, spark plug, and maybe like unstoppable or big rig, and just be you don't even need to be a big bulky guy to do it. Like that's what's crazy about it. You would think that like, oh, these guys are going to be 6'9" enforcers. No, you don't even need that. You could literally be a 6 foot 160 playmaker and rock these traits and still do a lot of damage and have a lot of speed. They don't understand. All of these traits are open to every single class, and we'll get into the classes in a little bit here. Hipster, I haven't seen anybody rock it yet for hip checks. Hip checks have been nerfed a little bit. They don't seem that nerfed though, but you might see people rock the exact same type of hitting that they've done in the past with the hip check if they rock hipster. So we'll have to see. I haven't seen anybody use it yet. And then obviously we know what stick 'em up is. You can unlock this right now. Now it actually tells you what it does, right? Plus 25% accuracy, check recovery, and stick speed. So that's pretty amazing. Same with the all-star, plus 50%. That's what I got. Quick pick, pretty much the same as in the past year. So these are two kind of similar traits. Those are the traits. Now it's what classes should you run, how the attributes should be, how should you kind of design your build. This is more of an in-depth, like sort of deep dive into the difference in the builds, right? In the build system that we got right now. It's different, but it's very similar to previous years. I would still go PMD here on defense. You can see kind of where I'm going in terms of my attributes. You can really severely lower your shit. Like -10 you can have for your wrist shot accuracy and power. So me personally, I always lower the shot because shooting actually isn't bad. Like even at it being low right now, you can still score, and if you're in the right spot, you can't obviously snipe it from far out, but you would put a trait on to make that happen. That's, you know, that's kind of just the way it's always been. You always max out your speed. You can get 96 here, 96 agility. You can get 82 balance. Funny because if you try, the way that they have this is that the base levels for all this stuff are more in favor of what you're trying to get to with like a smaller build archetype. So for example, I only have to lower a little bit of balance. Still a lot for the shot, but again, I could always lower some of these points and put that back into my shot if I really wanted to. So I could rock something like that, and I would have not the worst shooting and not really that bad balance, right? While still having pretty high speed and agility. What happens if you try to go with like a power forward is that you have to lower this all the way to 75 and all of these to 75. For a power forward to get the same type of effect, it's not balanced right. Like it's kind of built in a weird way where if you're trying to, all the builds can reach 96, 97 speed. You could go those bigger build archetypes and reach the same speed. Try to kind of balance the big builds. But what winds up happening is you have to subtract all this because there's a lot of points that are needed to be applied into speed and agility. You see how we're only at +7, +6? It would need to be +10, +10. So you have to subtract almost everything of everything else of your shooting and your balance to even reach that. That's not worth it. That's only if you wanted to go the same type of speed as a smaller build. But what's the trade-off? There isn't one. You just kind of lose points on that. So why not just pick a build that can already have all the traits that you want and that is already kind of close to what you're trying to get in terms of if you want to have a max speed build. What they didn't actually help the bigger builds at all. They actually made it worse because they opened up all these traits to every single class now. So now all the big builds, the enforcer, power forward, defensive, defenseman, all that, no point in having it. 0 point in having it. I don't understand what they were trying to do in terms of them trying to balance it. Same with this, right? If you want to have like high acceleration, maybe high endurance and puck control, you can't have it. You would have to severely lower this to like 80 something on a power forward just to reach your 96 and like maybe a lot of endurance if you wanted to for your acceleration and endurance. The trade-off is just not there. It's just not there. I mean, like for what? You don't get a benefit to being a power forward. There's no benefit. It's just you're weaker in other areas trying to hit the same bar as these other builds that can already naturally be there and less points given into that category. It's not balanced right. I will say 94 puck control. I'm only trying this out because I've heard how much of a hidden gem having high puck control actually is. This is something that I'm going to be trying out, and I'll kind of revisit this after I've kind of seen, you know, I've dived into this game a lot, right? So puck control is useful to have on almost every single build, forward and defense. If you're a guy that controls the puck, you kind of need to have high puck control to not lose the puck so easily, right? So it's your ability to kind of hang on to the puck. I don't care what it says here on the bottom. That is not what it says, right? That's not actually what it does. If you go to Beer Pro, what it tells you is your ability to hold on to the puck through poke checks and stuff. So when you're playing defense and you hold the poke out and the guy, it keeps going back to the guy, that's puck control being put into effect. That's what people don't fully understand. I think that's always been like the controversy with puck control, but that is what it does. I don't care what it says here. So they have the wrong goddamn description. They've had it wrong for years. We go to now play style. Play style, this is where you may think a two-way forward would benefit, which it would, right? A two-way forward can reach this, I think. You lose out on a few points for your offense as a PMD. Or actually, no, I was like this, and then I think I could reach. I'm actually pretty damn close. The PMD and two-way forward are almost identical with their play style. I do think the two-way forward takes it, but I do think the PMD is better overall as a defenseman. So I have 92, 82 stick checking would stick him up. 80 body checking is all you need. You could probably even lower this even more if you wanted to have more stick checking. I think it would be more beneficial that way as well. But for me, I do like my body checking where it's at least for now. Well, you know, hand-eye strength always been the key there. Deking and discipline always been the key there. Now, if we want to go to, like center, for example, this is another topic, right? Again, the same type of things. I'm not going to go through the attributes here. This is kind of how I run my builds across the board. So high acceleration, puck control, endurance, high speed, agility, right? The defense for a center, I want to have at least 85 or so, and then 90 and stuff for offense, and then whatever this is as a trade-off is kind of just what it is, right? It's going to be naturally weaker. This is where the controversy between whether should you have a playmaker or should you have a two-way forward, because having a two-way forward as a center might be better for the play style, and the reason for it as well is because you can actually reach 96 speed here and 96 agility and acceleration. So because we have that, that was always what kind of held back the two-way forward in previous years, because it's not as fast as the playmaker, that how everybody wants to play, right? So this is where now we actually have the ability to reach 96 across the board with a two-way forward. Now that gets put into the question, where can you play with this build? You can play it on defense, you can play it on offense as a center. It's just a matter of, you see the trade-off here where we were able to reach, well, actually this we could lower more, put this back into it. I could say maybe 93, 92 is a good starting point. You can even maybe go 90 if you really want to try and see just how the endurance kind of affects your game. But I think having, you know, 88 or so close to it, puck control, you might want to go with that. But you see how low we have to subtract our shot power and everything. Again, you have a shooting trait to kind of counteract that, but if you don't have a specific shooting trait for the type of shot you're taking, it's going to be weak. But I don't know if that's really that much of a difference. This is also the specialist trait, because we can't get the all-star because of how many points are put into elite edges and wheels. The question that I have is that, do you need actually both of these? Again, the question is, do you want to have both or one that's really strong? Once you unlock this, I think the question is, you might even want to run elite edges, elite, as a forward, and run elite wheels as a defenseman. That's kind of, that might be the course of action. Or you might want to balance yourself a bit more and have an all-star trait for both, because it's less points and you can get another trait as like your third trait. This is the thing: high hand-eye, high strength, as much high DK as you can. Obviously, we're taking draws now, so this has to be 90, so we lose out on some discipline, and we can't exactly reach the amount that we want for our deking as well. Not as good as the playmaker on center. You lose out on offense, but you gain on defense as a two-way forward. So it's kind of your play style. How do you want to play? Now we have a winger build. This is kind of where I'm looking at right now in terms of if you want to go sniper. You have a really high shot, although mine is kind of mid to low in terms of the sniper. That's just because of what I'm prioritizing over that. Again, you have the shooting traits to buff up your shot again. Now we're not like in the 70s, low 70s with our shot accuracy and power. We're now mid 80s, mid to low 80s, and we have all-star 1T and quick release. These are kind of like, this is the typical build combo. Elite edges, 1T, and close quarters, right? Now it's quick release, so you even got more to your shot than in previous years. But it's the all-star trait level for it. Again, the question is, once you get this would be 75 points. You'll have to subtract these then to the all-star or to the specialist. And this would be your combo with elite edges, but you can't even reach that because you're at 75 here. 75, you get 10 points here, and then there's 20 points. You're 5 points short. So you actually can't even have that if you rock max level elite edges. So you might see guys prefer to just have the second tier across the board all year. It doesn't matter if they even unlock it. That would be kind of the conversation that opens up. Is elite edges so valuable to have at max that you absolutely can't play without it? And then everything else is kind of just like whatever the hit and the trade-off is. I do think, though, that the all-star is not bad, and I do think you could still do a lot of damage, especially with it, and you're more kind of dynamic in your playstyle. You're not just kind of single-handedly having to do one specific action in order to play competitively, right? So this is the difference here. I do think it's pretty damn valuable. But again, this isn't completely set. This is kind of just like what I would typically run at first. I haven't actually tried this out, but I've seen guys run this kind of combo, and they do rock sniper. Yeah, it's crazy that the sniper defense is not as bad. This used to be 70s, not mid 70s, and then you'd have the exact same offense here. Again, puck control, you can subtract this down if you want to have a more powerful shot, and there's a lot more points that can go into it. As you can see how much we got by just subtracting 5 points, right? So that's kind of that's up to you, but I do think puck control is pretty important to have. Again, you can at least do that. 1 point off kind of gave you that. So again, it's going to be like little things like that where how many points do you get in a specific category? Like, all right, if I subtract 1, I could actually bring some of these lower stats back up. That's going to be kind of like what you kind of experiment with and find those hidden those hidden gems, right, for the values of your attributes. But that's kind of where I'm looking at now. Differences here, you go to playmaker. Okay, if I want to play wing with this build, you could do that. What I typically do is kind of go with this, and then you got yourself high offense, mid defense, right? You're at low 80s or 80 right on the dot with your defense. You have a little bit more into that. Still good deking, still good hand-eye, like everything is still good. You just have a weaker shot. You know what I mean? So, and then you could still play around with this. You can have the exact same type of setup that we just had, for the trades. And now you're just a playmaker. So that's what you could be running as a winger as well. So, or you could have Dangler, I guess. But I never really liked the Dangler because unless you like specifically wanted to have slightly better defense with like goal close quarters in the past, you can still hit 92 deking. What would be the benefit of rocking Dangler if you're just weaker with your defense? But that's just me. I think the playmaker is better for that, and then sniper's obviously better for more of an offensive playstyle at wing. That's kind of what I'm looking at, though. Like, again, you can mix these traits up, but the main traits to look at: wheels, elite edges, quick release, 1T maybe, backhand beauty, send it. Might see ankle breaker, truculent, spark plug. I don't know about hipster, and then you got your defensive traits. So there might be a few possibilities for some comp playstyles that are not just the same 3, 4, whatever traits. Might see some branching out a little bit. I just don't know how that will unfold and what people will actually come up with to become very OP, where you absolutely have to run it just like in previous years. I don't think they changed a whole lot to make that kind of branching out happen, but we'll have to see. They did mix it up in a way to keep it at least somewhat fresh, so you kind of have to applaud them on that. It's just a matter of, did they change it enough to where it isn't just the same story being told like in previous years? So that's kind of the question mark I got there. But that's an in-depth guide to the build system. What my thoughts are initially from playing. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I appreciate it. I know this one's gonna be a long one, but hope you guys stay to the end. If you have, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell. We got some more chill content coming, as well as be a pro. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys next time.